One weekend, a man takes his blonde wife deer hunting for the first time. After he gives her some basic instructions, they agree to separate and rendezvous later. Before he leaves, he warns her if she should fell a deer to be wary of hunters who might beat her to the carcass and claim the kill. If that happens, he tells her she should fire her rifle 3 times into the air and he will come to her aid. Shortly after they separate, he hears the signal, 3 shots from a rifle. Arriving at the scene, he finds his wife standing over a carcass and a very nervous-looking man staring down her gun barrel.
"He claims this is his, but I was the one who shot it,"
she says.
"She can keep it! She can keep it!"
The wide-eyed man cries.
"I just want my saddle back!"
A 78-year-old man goes to the doctor for a checkup. When it's over, the doctor says,
"You're in remarkable shape for a man anywhere near your age."
"Well, I do try to look after myself,"
says his patient.
"A round of golf as often as possible helps keep the juices flowing."
"Can't hurt,"
says the doctor.
"but I don't think that explains it. Maybe your family is just naturally long-lived. How long did your father live?"
"Don't know yet,"
says the patient, smiling at the assumption.
"Dad had his 98th birthday last month."
"Wow,"
says the doctor.
"How's he holding up?"
"Fit and well,"
says the old man.
"He's joining me for a round this afternoon."
"I'm impressed,"
says the doctor.
"What about your grandfather?"
117 and still going strong,"
says the man. The doctor shakes his head.
"If all my patients were like you and your family, I'd be out of business. I suppose he's joining you and your dad on the golf course this afternoon?"
he jokes.
"He usually would,"
says the patient candidly.
"but he's getting married."
"Getting married?"
asks the doctor.
"Why does he want to get married at that age?"
"Well,"
replies the patient, looking slightly embarrassed,
"it's not that he wants to."
A guy sticks his head into a barber shop and asks, "How long before I can get a haircut?" The barber looks around the shop and says,
"About 2 hours."
The guy leaves. A few days later, the same guy sticks his head in the door and asks, "How long before I can get a haircut?" The barber looks around at his shop full of customers and says,
"About 2 hours."
The guy leaves. A week later, the same guy sticks his head in the shop and asks, "How long before I can get a haircut?" The barber looks around the shop and says,
"About an hour and a half."
The guy leaves. The barber looks over at a friend in the shop and says,
"Hey, Bill, follow that guy and see where he goes."
A little while later, Bill comes back into the shop, laughing hysterically. The barber asks,
"Bill, where did that guy go when he left here?"
Bill looks at him and says,
"To your house."
A blonde is traveling with her friend down an old back road when she slams on her brakes to miss a rabbit. They both get out of the car to see a dead rabbit lying in the middle of the road. The friend turns to the blonde and says,
"OMG, you just killed that poor rabbit! What are we going to do?"
The blonde returns to her car to retrieve a spray can, then back to her friend that's frantically crying about the rabbit. She sprays the rabbit up and down with the spray can. The rabbit miraculously gets up, runs 10 feet off the road and into a field. The rabbit turns to look back at the blonde and waves at her. The rabbit continues to run another 10 feet and again turns back to wave at the blonde. This continues for another 5 minutes before the blonde's friend turns and asks the blonde,
"What is in that can? I can't believe what I'm seeing."
The blonde replies,
"I don't know, but it says, hair restorer with permanent wave."
There is a diner in New Orleans that advertises that it will serve you anything you want. But if they can't, they will give you $5,000 as an apology. A man passing by sees this message advertised at the entrance. Thinking it's probably a scam, he decides to try it out anyway. As he enters the diner, a waitress seats him at a table. She asks the man,
"What can I get you, sir?"
The man thinks for a moment and says, "How about an elephant's ear and a muffin?" The waitress replies,
"You bet. I'll be right back with your order.
The waitress then heads back to the kitchen. After waiting nearly 20 minutes, the man begins to think that this is going to be an easy $5,000. At the same moment, the waitress returns. Appearing a little anxious, the waitress asks,
I'm sorry, sir, but would you mind telling me what kind of elephant you want this ear from?
The man is stunned. How about an Indian elephant? Replies the man. The waitress says,
Thank you, sir,
as she heads back to the kitchen. Not a minute later, the waitress returns again.
I'm sorry, sir. Would you like the left or the right ear?
She asks. The man is starting to become very nervous at this point. The left ear, I guess?
Thank you, sir,
Replies the waitress as she returns to the kitchen. The man is beginning to wonder what he has gotten himself into, as he has no idea what an elephant ear costs. A few minutes later, the waitress returns with a platter of food and a $5,000 check. The waitress tells the man,
Here is your order, sir, and please accept this check and our apologies. But we're out of muffins today.
A coach at a school for blind children took his soccer team to an away game. They decided to stop for a rest. The coach headed over to a diner as he let the children work off some energy in a nearby pasture. The coach was sitting in the diner explaining to another patron how it is that blind children can play soccer. We made a special ball with a bell in it so the children can keep track of where the ball is and what it's doing by listening for it. They're pretty good at it too.
Very clever,
remarked the other patron. Just then, they are interrupted as another patron who is looking out the window says,
Hey, are you the guy with those damn kids from the bus?
Yes, says the teacher, stung by the way his children are being referred to. What about it? You got something against blind children?
No,
says the guy, still scowling out the window.
but you better get them rounded up quick. They're kicking the hell out of my best milk cow.
During World War II, a Nazi walks into a bar, looks around, and notices an older Orthodox Jewish man seated at a nearby table.
Bartender,
He says,
a round on me for all your patrons, but not for the old Jewish geezer over there.
As everyone in the bar receives their drinks, he looks directly at the Jew with a nasty smile. Surprisingly, the Jew nods his head and sends a warm smile back. The Nazi is somewhat miffed, as this was not the reaction he expected. So, he goes back to the bar.
Bartender, a second round for everyone but him, and this time take it all from the top shelf.
He shouts. The Nazi again looks at the Jew and notices that he's still smiling back, and even warmer than before.
Is that Jew a complete fool or what?
He asks the bartender. The bartender replies,
Oh no, my generous friend. That gentleman is the owner of the bar.
Sam and John were out cutting wood when John cut his own arm off. Sam remained calm, wrapped the arm in a plastic bag, then took the arm and John to a surgeon.
You are in luck,
Said the surgeon.
I am an expert in reattaching limbs. Come back in 4 hours when I've completed the operation.
So Sam returned in 4 hours, and the surgeon said,
I did it faster than I expected. John is down at the pub.
Sam rushed down to the pub and was amazed to see John playing darts. A few weeks later, Sam and John were cutting wood again when John accidentally cut off his leg. Sam put the leg in a plastic bag and took the leg and John back to the same surgeon.
Legs are harder,
Said the surgeon.
but I'll see what I can do. Come back in 6 hours.
Sam returned in 6 hours and the surgeon said,
I finished early. John's playing football.
Sam went to the field and, to his surprise, found John kicking 50-yard torpedoes. A few weeks later, Sam and John were cutting wood again when John accidentally cut off his own head. Sam put the head in a plastic bag, then took it and the rest of John to the surgeon, confident that the skillful surgeon would do the job.
Gee, heads are really difficult to reattach,
the surgeon muttered.
but I'll see what I can do. Come on back in 12 hours.
Sam returned in 12 hours.
How did it go, Doc?
He asked.
I'm sorry, John died.
The surgeon replied.
He suffocated in the plastic bag.